the recording for the session probably early next week when I have time to pull those together, edit the session, and to get those out to you. So just know that those things are coming. So what I want to do now is just go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing here in the PowerPoint environment, and I'm going to move over to my web browser. Bear with me while I do that. And you're going to see my slides because I just parallel them on my in Google Drive just to make it easy to get to them. So what I want to do now is just go ahead and go into Galileo. Mike, if you can let me know, I know it sometimes takes a moment for the screen display to begin to work, but if you can let me know when you see it, that would be helpful.
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hopefully it won't do that thing again where it took a minute yesterday. So we are now on the Galileo login page, and I'm sure a lot of you have been logging in and playing around with the new features already. And I'm going to go ahead and log in as Athens Clarke County Library, because that's my home library. And I have now successfully logged in. It is logging me in currently with the full view because I went to the page earlier today. So a cookie is set so that it selects the last view that I went to essentially. But ordinarily we ask it to choose a view when you first log in, or if you're in the library, it should prompt a user. You're already pretty familiar with this, to choose a view when they first hit Galileo via an IP connection in the library. But we did move the change views over to the left-hand side of the screen, and we added a little bit of a drop-down arrow there. We took this white space. We decided we wanted to make things a little clearer and easier to see at the top of the screen, particularly as it relates to the changing of views. So our web designer, Jason Steele, did a nice job of redoing the top header area of Galileo. So from here, if I just want to change views, I can go ahead and click this down arrow and I can move into an elementary, middle, high school, or full view. So this directly parallels the views that are available for our K-12 libraries as well, for our schools. This was a strong suggestion that came from, and I think a very good suggestion that came from the Galileo Development Advisory Committee, that it just made good sense to parallel those views, since kids sometimes move from school to library in the afternoon. And it just was going to create a good level of consistency for our users from a K-12 library to a public library Galileo site. So just moving, I'll move to the elementary view so that you can see. When you move to one of the new views, the elementary view here in this case, the Discover search is now specific to the content that is available for middle schoolers, pardon me, for elementary school age students. And then the Spotlight area, something that we've worked on over the last couple of years, is also specific to those elementary school users. And we've included things like eRead Kids, the Funk and Wagnall's new encyclopedia, Explorer for Elementary, those resources that would be great for an elementary school age person to start with. Now this is customizable. If you don't love what is in your Spotlight area, if you are a Galileo administrator or you know someone who is at your institution, at your library, you can update and change what's in the Spotlight area. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Galileo admin a little bit later on in a different context, and make sure that you know everything you need to if you are interested in becoming a Galileo admin user or a GLRI user. Mike White, who is here with us, can help you out with that, and I'm going to give you details on that a little bit later on. But if I'm in elementary school, we haven't restricted anyone from changing from view to view. The full view is full Galileo. It's access to everything in all databases in the Discover search, of course, with some limitations and with the list of databases. So I'm going to go ahead and expand to full view and highlight a few more features here. Ultimately, one of these days, and it's going to be a while, we are moving to a different type of authentication called Open Athens. You all probably heard me talk about that for far too long. We are about to get started with public libraries on that, so it should be coming fairly soon. But one of the things that we want to do is begin to offer some customization options for individual users. And one of the first steps toward that is we have sort of the first notion of creating a user account for Galileo. You see this when you log into Pines. A Pines user logs in and they see a welcome. Lucy and I, Lucy Harrison, our executive director, were looking at this yesterday. She gets welcomed to Pines, and then she has access to, her saved items and her holds and other things. So we want to begin to do that similar type of functionality with Galileo. People can save databases that they like. They can create their own lists. We are a long way from being able to do that, but we are beginning to take steps in that direction. So we're excited to be able to begin to do that. The next thing I'll share with you is the tour. And the tour is designed for someone who is brand new to Galileo or has come here after we've made these changes in July or December to find out what's going on and what the functionality is. At one point, this is what's new, but we decided to make it something more permanent that doesn't just reflect the change, but gives a good tour of what the functionality is, item by item in the Galileo page, much like what I'm doing for you now. So if I click on the tour, it takes me to what the welcome user means. We're working toward providing a more customized or personalized experience. Changing the views is on there. All databases, all journals in the spotlight area. So the tour will just guide anyone who would like to see the major features. We'll just give them a quick tour of the Galileo page so that they can find out what is there and what it does. And then our support area has stayed much the same. This click out will take you to Galileo support and where you can review our FAQ articles. We've made substantial updates to our FAQs again with this release. So I know everybody is interested in the bento search, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But if I search here bento, you'll see that we've added several FAQ articles related to that bento search, including visuals in here. So that's and then the support forums. If you need help in a little while, I'm going to mention, as I mentioned earlier, Mike's admin training. If you want to talk to Mike about becoming a Galileo admin, if you just contact support services using the 4 technical issues form provided, that's one way that you can reach out to Mike about Galileo admin training. So those are just the major features of support. Another thing that people asked for was they wanted more information, what we call above the fold, sort of above this main splash image here on the page. And so what we decided to do was to move, these links, parallel links down the page, but the all databases, all journals, and in the spotlight list are up here now as well. The all databases list does just what it did before. If I click on all databases, it gives me that alphabetical list. And again, with that A to Z toggle is available for me if I want to go looking or browsing alphabetically. While I'm in the database list, another thing that we've done, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later too, just in terms of for the front end of Galileo, though, for the end user, if you now go, for example, into Academic Search Complete and you click on the More Info button, one thing we have done a lot of updating descriptions so that they are clearer and easier to read. We trimmed back the language and tried to make it less librarian-y. So we will continue to work on that with our core databases, but we did a lot of them over the summer. But the other major feature that we've added to database descriptions is you see these formats, subjects, keywords, and vendor information now. These are now clickable. So if I come here and I want to say, well, hey, what else in Galileo falls under the subject computer science, I can click on that and it'll take me over to that computer science list of databases. So that is, and we've also given you the ability to add subjects and keywords in Galileo admin. I've added a lot of new keywords to core resources over the summer. For example, we have a good number of resources in Galileo that allow that feature text to speech. The database will actually read the article in many cases. So if you want to see a list of articles that offer that functionality, if you click on the text to speech keyword, in this case only Academic Search Complete comes up, but it does actually have that feature. So just wanted to share that with you as something that we added. It's both an administrative feature, but it's certainly a public-facing feature in that users can now click on those buttons, and you can too as a librarian or library staff member, and get things revised a little bit for yourself. So that's the all databases area. I'll talk a little bit more about all databases when we talk about tools in a moment. All journals is the same as it ever was. It's just the list of all the publications that you have access to in full text via Galileo. And you can come here and browse alphabetically, browse by discipline, or search. So if a user is looking for the old standby that I like to search for every time I work with public libraries, consumer reports, they can find out where they can get full text access to it and link out to it quickly and easily. So that is our publications list, our all journals area. And finally, the In the Spotlight area, it just takes you down the page to where that In the Spotlight area lives so that you can see it quickly and easily. I'm going to disable the bento search just so that you can see that the all databases and all journals are still down the page, and that we've retained for now the Galileo databases by subject type or name search also is available here. So I'm going to stop, quick pause before I dig into additional new features. Mike, are there any questions so far?
Nope, no questions at this time.
Well, I'll give a brief 10-second pause just in case you want to ask something. We're at a good logical stopping point before I dig into some other things. So I'll just take a quick pause. I'll keep talking, but won't do anything new in case you're typing away. Okay, some additional features, and again, this is tied pretty closely to the Galileo admin backend, which libraries can certainly have people have access to. For your libraries now, there is the About Athens Regional Library System. For a long time, libraries had to contact Galileo if they wanted to update any of the information here. And gosh, we're still more than happy to do it for you if you submit a support ticket and let us know we need to update something here. But we have now made it so that those with administrative access to the back end of Galileo at the library can make these updates now. So there are 5 slots here, basically, in the About Athens Regional Library System area. So you can add up to 5 links. So if you wanted to add, obviously your library website and the Pines catalog are logical things to add, but you can basically have room to add 3 more things there. So if you wanted to link out to a list of branches or a list of resources, or to a programs page on your About Athens Regional Library System page, or about your library's page, you can do that now. So we can, again, we can always add them, but certainly libraries now have the ability to add these themselves, which I think is great. We've been wanting to give more and more opportunities for our libraries to customize their Galileo site locally. Next up is the tools area. We'll talk about several things here, including embedding a Galileo search box, which I mentioned earlier, shareable links, and shareable links we added last year, and then databases provided by Athens Regional Library System is an interesting functionality. So these are all more or less new things, but or at least have new things in them. We've always had the Galileo search box, but I want to show you, just in case you haven't seen this before, if you ever want to embed a Galileo search box on your library webpage, you can do that just by capturing the code and putting it in the HTML of your page. And we have also added, for the new Galileo bento search, there is a search box specific to the bento search as well that you can create. There are 2 separate search boxes now that you can grab off of here and put on your Galileo website. You may want to do this in a way that makes sense. Well, hey, maybe my adult users are pretty used to using the Galileo search box as it is, and they like the text. maybe I want to put the regular one on my main page, but maybe I want to put the bento search on my kids' pages. That's just one random way to think about it. But just both options are available now for libraries, the standard search and the bento search. And again, we'll obviously be talking more about the bento search, our major feature of this release, in a few minutes. So that's the embedded search box. Next up is shareable links. Again, one of the things that I will say, neglected last release, was a lot of you rely on Galileo to provide you a direct link to the views, and also a direct link to your A to Z database lists. So we've put that functionality back, and we've actually included it now as a specific tool. So if you want to put direct links to the elementary, middle, high school, and full views anywhere on your library websites, you can do that now just by capturing the different links. If you click on the shareable link button, you can then just copy the link, and it'll take you directly to that elementary view in this case. And as far as the A to Z list, the shareable links here, there's the databases A to Z for elementary. Same thing, I'll click on the shareable link and can copy that A to Z list. I'll click on it just to show you that it's just a direct link to the A to Z list for that elementary view. So those, again, are, I think, very good and changes that we wanted to be very responsive with based on the feedback that we got after the initial release last year. And finally, in the tools area, as I scroll back, actually, they don't have the two citation tools enabled here in for Athens, but there are two more tools. There is a citation creator, and then there is a database called, or a resource called Power Notes that users can use to manage their research. So those are there in the tools area. So again, those are the tools area, major additions there that we've done. And the last thing in terms of things that we've added before we launch into taking a look at the bento search are the release notes. And I want to show you here, redesign release notes. I'll go ahead and click on that. It's down in the footer. If I click on redesign release notes, it's going to open those release notes for me in a new window. And I guess the major release notes, we haven't released those yet, but they're coming. It takes us a minute to process them. But basically what we do, as I mentioned, we release basically a new code into Galileo every 2 weeks. So every time new code goes in, we put release notes in that reflect the changes that we made. So improvement to what's new functionality, bug fixes, Galileo admin reports were added. Anything that we do that is relevant to you and the end user, we include in those release notes so that you can keep up with what's going on with Galileo. So if you need to make changes to tutorials that you've created, to websites that you've done, or if you're just curious as to what functionality might be new and exciting, you can refer to the release notes to find that information. So that is the release notes. And before we dig in deeper and take a look at the bento search, I have one or two more things I want to share with you all. But again, just taking a pause for any questions. Mike, anything coming through?
We've had a comment that Shannon loves the direct links under the shareable links.
Good.
And I did want to mention that the tool links were not displaying because I think when we had that issue with them always displaying, I think I tested it in production and never turned them back on. So I just turned them back on.
Oops. I wondered about that because I didn't think Trudy had changed them. I guess she didn't mention it to me or anything. So, okay.
So they should be showing now.
Yeah, let me reload and see if those show. You never know what you're going to see when you're doing training. Let's see. Yeah, there they are. So that's Power Notes, which I wasn't really going to show you anyway, but Mike has added that back. Thanks, Mike. But I did want to show you Zotero Bib because I think it's a really good and very slick, quick, easy way to create a bibliography. And also lets me show you how we've done these links. For Zotero Bib and Power Notes, we didn't want to give someone a link to something without any context. especially something that was new. So ZoterraBib, we wanted to tell folks what it is and what it does. This is basically a citation tool. And then it provides that direct link out to ZoterraBib. And I've played around this played around with this a little bit, and you see I've just made a short bibliography, and including a self-aggrandizing citation for an article I wrote. And you can see that it will take these things and put them into the appropriate format. You can just copy a URL, ISBN, digital object identifier, any number of things, or do your entry manually. If you click on manual entry, it just lets you put in the different fields, and it will generate citations. Anytime we share citation generation tools with folks, we make sure to let people know, hey, check these citations with your instructor, or your faculty member, or your teacher, whomever it may be, to make sure that they meet their requirements, because they're not perfect. So that is, thank you, Mike, for adding that back. I was wondering what was going on there. So that's ZoterraBib. All right. Well, and again, to your comment, we're so thrilled, and we apologize. We are glad that we were able to quickly come through and put in these shareable links and the views very quickly. Change is hard sometimes, and sometimes we have to change in phases, and we were thrilled to be able to add that back quickly and be responsive. So glad that's useful for you. Great. All right. The next thing I want to share with you, just before we dig in too deeply with the bento, I try to tease the bento as far as we can. So I'm going to click on the support area just to show you a couple of more things. If you go to the About Galileo pages, and support is included within the About Galileo pages, and it's just about.galileo.usg.edu to get started. Just wanted to point out a couple of things here. That we still have. If you ever need Galileo statistics, the data and statistics information is there. And it's still at the stats.galileo.usg.edu page as well. But I wanted to point out something that you all had asked for quite a bit that took us some time to redo, that we have now, in fact, fully and completely redone thanks to the wonderful Ken Hensley on my team. So I'm going to click on the training area here in Galileo. We have a LibGuide that we maintain for Galileo training information. And Ken has gone through and recreated and revamped and edited all of our Galileo videos. So these are all brand new, new and improved video tutorials for Galileo. We support all of our tutorials now. We put them on YouTube. But what we've done here is so that if we ever have to edit them or change them, we've added persistent links using our Galileo Express Links format. So those videos, the links for them won't change. I mean, obviously, we might change them at some point if we decide to go away from using that particular video. But if you want to capture a link, for example, Galileo search, logging in and using the Wayfinder, you can capture that link and go directly to that video. But now watch the ad. I am not a representative of endorsed BRB, but you can see videos there. Yep. Gonna turn that off. But so they're there and available for you all to use. And again, just to trace that path back, I realize I went pretty fast. If you go to Galileo, about.galileo.usg.edu, and then tools and training, those videos are accessible via the training area. Okay. So those are Galileo videos, and I'm going to go ahead now and just go back to the main Galileo page, and it's time to play around with the bento search. So what we did with the bento search is we wanted to, based on feedback that we got from users, from our annual survey, from the Galileo Development Advisory Committee, a lot of what we were hearing was it's really difficult to parse the average Galileo EBSCO Discovery Service based search results. You know, I go here and I search for global warming, just searching that for fun. And I get a long list of search results. You know, it gives me some cool things, like it gives me this research starter. I don't know if many of you've seen it, but one of the other cool things that we've added are for a couple of public library resources like Mango, we've added this thing called a placard in the EBSCO Discovery Service. So if a user comes here and searches for mango, and instead of getting a bunch of results about fruit, they'll get that, but then they'll also get this placard, which takes them to the Mango database. So if that's what they were looking for, they can find it. So we wanted to be able to point users in the right direction using this search when they were off track. So the Bento search is designed to take that list of search results and sort it into logical boxes. Bento coming from the Japanese style lunchbox that is compartmentalized. The Bento search for Galileo works very similarly to the way a Bento lunchbox organizes your lunch. So I can come here into the Bento search. One of the things that we wanted to do is make it very clear that this is where you start. We wanted to give a description of what the Bento search is. So if you hover or click in the mobile environment, you can get the description of the Bento search. And it's a simple toggle. You can turn it on and off very easily. And we've also created several pathways for the user to get out of Bento and back into the standard search if they want to, although one of those is failing right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but we're working on a fix. One thing to know, when we turn on the Bento search, the browse by subject and database type by type and the all databases search go away. That doesn't mean that they go away forever. There's still going to be tools that you have access to, but one thing that we've integrated into the Bento search is a Galileo database search. So I searched mango earlier. Yeah, if I search mango in the Bento search, one of the first things I want to show you here is if I click on this and search it, it finds and presents that to the user in the database's Bento box here. So we have integrated the database search into the Bento search. So there is the opportunity to limit to full text only. So if users don't want to sort through articles that aren't full text, they don't have to. I mean, you can always engage that in the advanced search, in the EBSCO Discovery search, the Galileo Discover search, but it's just easier to put it here on the main page. And if the user doesn't want to use Bento, they can turn it off. And of course, we always present the option to go straight into the advanced search, the advanced Discover search. And again, keeping in mind that the search content, the searched content is different in every view for our public libraries. So what I search in the full view is going to be more substantial than what I get in the elementary view, just to point that out. So you might find things in the full view that you don't find in the elementary view, because essentially we've limited the content to the databases available by age grouping. So that's how that works. Also, you can take, though, your search from one view to another. So if I do my search here for mango in the full view, and I was like, well, I want to see what I want to, in theory, you can take it very directly into the middle school view without having to redo it, just by changing views, which is pretty slick. So I'll go ahead and click back on the main page there and do a few more fun searches here. Let me go back into the full view just so you can see the full sort of scope of everything. You'll have to forgive me because I started out my searching this week with working with the National History Day program. So I went through some of the National History Day program papers, and one of the most fascinating ones to me was cigarette advertising and 1980s. Now, I can't really limit by date in the Bento search, but I can always limit later if I want to. I'll go ahead and click search, and you'll see that actually gives me some pretty good results right out of the gate. Some scholarly articles, association between point of sale advertising bans and cigarette smoking, magazine articles, ebooks. Everything is sorted out here for me. We also knew that, let me tell you a little bit about why the boxes are as large as they are. We did this with good reason. The boxes are as large as they are because we wanted to be able to include at least a truncated version of the abstract for the article so that people could still look at the results, review an article, read the first couple of sentences of the abstract, and not lose that information in the Bento search. So that's why we've sort of made it this large so that we could include that primary information about the article and also include a link to the full text when it's available right there within the results list page. But to sort of accommodate the size of that, one of the great ideas that was integrated by our development team was to put what are called these pill buttons. These are sort of in the shape of a pill, and they will link you down the page. So I have an encyclopedia entry on cigarette advertising. If I want to read that, I click encyclopedia on the pill button, and it'll take me directly to the advertising entry in Funk and Wagnall's New World Encyclopedia. So if I want to look at the 3 primary articles, if I click on primary sources, it takes me right in. Now, the question that came up in the first session that we did is, well, how do I narrow from here? That is something that we are working on. If you wanted to narrow, well, hey, I didn't get exactly what I wanted here. I want to see something different. I want to apply more limiters to this results list. What would I do? Well, what we've done for each bento box, there is going to be a refined search button that lives right where my cursor here is, right next to the X. And that refined search button would take your search directly into the EBSCO Discover search, the Galileo Discover search, where you could apply the limits and filters there and do more sort of modifying and molding your search into what you wanted it to be. So we wanted to provide that pathway, and we will provide that pathway. There's just a technical issue with that right now that we're working to resolve. So the results, though, work just like anything else. If I click on the PDF full text, it's going to open the article for me right where I sit and give me access to all of that full text. And also, if I click on the article citation, it's going to take me out just like it would currently in Galileo. It's going to take me out to the EBSCO Discovery Service where I can look at the citation. I can do things like add it to my Google Drive, email it to myself, save it, cite it. All of those functionality are still available once it takes you out into that EBSCO environment in the new window. So that is the basics of using the Bento search. Some of the things that we've done to make this great for public libraries is we have added a box for Learning Express, which is I know a very popular resource in public libraries. So Learning Express, if I click on the Learning Express box, it'll take me to that Learning Express content, those guides for SAT and NLN. I had someone ask me, a friend of mine asked me about NLN's nursing exams last week, and I was thrilled because I was able to help her find some information. But then it can go directly to that record in Learning Express. So we wanted to make sure that we created some customized options, sort of page by page for our different libraries. Now, we do consider the Bento search to be in a beta format right now. So it isn't fully realized and it isn't as functional as we want it to be, but we decided that since the timing was right, we had done a lot of great work on it, that we wanted to go ahead and make it available for the public in our libraries to use. So it is there, it is available, but one of the things I want to stress is we really want your comments and feedback about ways that we can improve the Bento search. We have a few things in mind already. For example, one of the things that we want to be able to do eventually is for those Galileo administrative users that I've mentioned several times now, we want someone to be able to go in and define which boxes you want to display for your institutions, and perhaps you don't want all of the different boxes that Galileo has chosen here by default right now to display. So we're hoping to be able to build some flexibility into this for our library so that you can be in more control of what displays here in the long term. Now we're hoping perhaps to do that by December of this year. So again, it's it's a great tool. We're really pleased with the work that our development team has done on this, but we do have additional work to do to make it even better. So that's the bento search. I want to take a pause here and Mike ask if there are any questions coming through.
No questions, but we have had some positive comments about bento search and how they like it.
Good. I'm so glad to hear it. And I have to give so much credit to, first of all, the development team, Brad Baxter, Josh Weir, and Seamus Nairn, faces that you don't see often out and about at our conferences, but who are here working very hard to make Galileo what it is. And then big credit to Mike here on that work. Mike White worked very closely to tell you a little bit of a technical background on how the bento search works. It is not exactly pulling the information from the EBSCO Discover search that we use all the time. It's connecting to an index via what's called an API. And Mike worked very closely with EBSCO to ferret out lots of issues with the API and to figure out with the development team exactly how it works. And Mike was a very good point person on that. So credit to Mike for doing that work and putting that time in to really get this thing underway. Only up from here is what I've been saying with the bento search. We're very pleased with it. There are some quirks that we have to work through, but we will continue to work on it and improve it. So thank you so much for the positive feedback to date. Any other questions? I want to mention a few more things. I'm just going to go back to my slide deck for a couple of minutes to run through, just to make sure I covered everything as much as anything. Anything else?
Nothing else right now.
All right. Well, again, just I wanted to point out that we did do a lot of improvements with that ability in the back end. Again, Galileo admin users to be able to add database search keywords or subjects for your core databases at your library. Mike is offering some trainings right now, but at any point, if you want to get Galileo admin training, just send in a support ticket where I showed you earlier. And Mike does a great job of talking with you and determining exactly what your needs are for Galileo admin. He'll set up an account for you and guide you through, and he'll either point you to recorded training or offer you some one-on-one training to get you up and running and started with using Galileo admin. I will say it is easy to use once you are trained a little bit. It is not hard at all. We have greatly improved that. It used to be pretty challenging and difficult to do some things in the Galileo backend, and we are working to open it up more and more so that you can do more at your library. As I mentioned, the ZoteroBib Power Notes, the shareable links are tools that we've added. But again, pointing to the admin side of things, that you can now update the about area of your own Galileo site with those admin tools. We also wanted to make it so in the tools area, I mentioned that Power Notes and ZoteroBib. If you have things at your institution that you would rather point users to, we haven't given the ability to add things to the tools yet, but you can turn those off if you want. You saw earlier that Mike had them turned off for Athens Clarke County Library unintentionally. But yeah, we can turn those off or show you how to do that. We don't want to push any of these types of tools on anyone, but it's something that users had asked for. So we wanted to provide an opportunity for them to access that. But if you have other tools at your library, we have no problem with you turning those off, showing you how to turn those off or turn them off for you. As I mentioned, we did update the Galileo search box. This is just an example from Georgia Highlands Library of what that looks like on a library website. You see that the user can come there and just search right out of the gate. That search box for Bento is available. Let me see, I had it up the other day. Let me see. Yeah, so I've made one. This is Cherokee. Can you, Mike, just make sure I'm on the right, my tab open and then it's showing. Are you seeing the Bento search?
Yep, I am.
Yeah. So this is just an HTML file opened in Chrome. It's not, but it works. I can go in and search. It'll actually search Athens Clarke County because that's where I'm logged in. But It functionally will search if you're on Cherokee County Schools page as well. So that is it just basically takes you out to the bento results from your library homepage, which is awesome. So you do have the ability to do that, which I'm thrilled with. So it's just a slightly different code. Making sure I cover everything here. Again, I have slides in case I'm not able to cover it. Other changes to Galileo admin, searchable keywords I mentioned, about links. Yep, so we talked about all of that. And I wanted just a word about Galileo admin training. Again, I'll get you these slides by Monday. And there is an overview session for Galileo admin that Mike did for the annual conference. So I've included a link to that. And again, just a reminder, if you want that admin training, just schedule that with Mike. We'll be happy to work with you. And yeah, just a few things about what's next. We want to be able to connect more directly to other sources for the bento boxes. Things that we just didn't get to in the initial creation of this that we want to. Hopefully we can work with the Pines team to create a way to surface those print books. There's lots of ways that Galileo does that already in the Discover search, but we hope a direct connection might be better. The Digital Library of Georgia, that good content, and the Georgia Historic Newspaper content, that stuff kind of appears now because it's indexed in the Discover search, but we think we can do a better job and provide direct connections to those collections and get better results. We want to provide better options for customized content and layout in those bentos for the institutions. And again, as we integrate Open Athens, and you'll be hearing from me in the public library world pretty soon. We're working with Live Oak still. That's dragged on a bit with some issues that we've had, and then folks got busy, but we're about finished with that first public library implementation, and then we'll be reaching out to our public libraries to work in cohorts, groups of 3 to 5 libraries to do those implementations for you. But in any case, that will give us more opportunity to customize for the individual user, better default content, perhaps based on attributes. If we know someone is interested in genealogy and we have a way to know that, we can push them genealogy content when they log in. And also in our long-term goals, we really hope to be able to link accounts so that if I have an account, as I do, with the University System Office, and then I like to use my Athens Clark County Library resources, and you have these different affiliations, why not be able to access them with one account? Now that's something that will take a lot of time, but we're hoping in the long term we will be able to provide that for our users. So we continue to envision new things and new ideas for the future of Galileo. And with that, I'm going to stop one last time for questions. Again, I appreciate your patience. Finally, by the end of this session, my numbness has completely worn off. So forgive my difficulty talking early on, but we're good to go, I think. I think I can eat now. Any questions or comments, Mike?
No questions at this time.
Well, I'll hang out for another 10 seconds or so, but feel free to ask any questions. I'll go ahead and escape here and stop presenting and in case anybody asked anything. But I'll give it a couple of minutes just to make sure everybody got to ask everything that they wanted. Seeing the comments here. Yeah, see, Shannon, I see your comment about being able to differentiate between different types and sources of information. It's so much easier. I shared that with Kevin Shirley over at LaGrange College, who manages the National History Day program, and he works a lot with K-12 and academics. And I showed it to him on Monday, and by Wednesday he's emailing me, "Oh, I don't know what I ever did without it," which was really, I think, great reinforcement for that feedback. I think it's going to be a game changer. I really like it myself. Well, seeing no other questions, we'll wrap up a little bit early here on Friday. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. If you have questions at any time, don't hesitate to contact me directly or contact us via Galileo support. If you have questions about Galileo admin, again, just contact us via the support link, and Mike will be more than happy to help you out with getting the information and training you need about that. Thank you all so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.